The intriguing book Dollar and Sex examines the connection between money and relationships. It explores the ways in which financial decisions can affect our romantic relationships and provides guidance on negotiating the challenges of modern relationships in a world driven by materialism. It's definitely an exciting trip.
Chapter number 1.
The way we date and mate has been altered by technology. In the form of effective contraception, technological advances have overwhelmed the cost-benefit analysis of sex. Millions of women and men think about casual sex every day because we now have the power to do so with little or no consequences. In the past, people were afraid of unwanted pregnancies and sexually transmitted diseases, which should be considered before having sex. According to a 2010 Pew Research report, about 44% of young adults believe that marriage is an outdated institution. Does promiscuity have any benefits? Sex makes people happy, so you'd think people with more sexual partners would be happier. But that is far from reality. Research shows that the more sexual partners you have, the less happy you will be. An economic approach to explaining human sexuality allows us to understand why we underwent a liberalization of sexual values in the 20th century, and how the ever-widening income gap between the poor and the rich led to an increase in unwanted pregnancies in poor communities. All the remaining chapters of this summary are about exploring these points.
Chapter number 2.
College students have different sexual experiences than their age fellows who don't attend school. Contrary to popular belief, university students on average have less sex than their mates who aren't studying. Let's look at the fates of most students on campus. On Thursday nights, students drink at an off-campus bar. Most women will go to this bar just to have a good time with their friends, while others go there and use their drunken state to hook up with any willing guy. Few go there to enjoy male attention while looking for a relationship. But that proves to be impossible because most men won't want to be with a woman who doesn't give up the cookie within limited hours of meeting her. Another popular misconception is that men like sex more than women. The truth is that men prefer to have multiple sexual partners. Women prefer reassurance that sex is not a one-off experience. In a study, researchers asked people how many sexual partners they would like to have over the next 2 years. On average, women preferred only one partner, while men wanted an average of 8 sexual partners. Men's desire to have multiple partners and their willingness to participate in anonymous sex raise the sex trade worldwide.
Chapter number 3.
Filters on online dating sites make it easier to find love, and many potential partners are turned off by flimsy features. When faced with too many choices in online dating, people often choose to simplify using a process of elimination, going through large categories of options to streamline their decision-making process. So, they reject potential partners without ever seeing them, not because of who they are, but because they couldn't escape the filtered search. Meanwhile, such people might have been best for them. Online searches encourage us to look for characteristics that we can easily measure, such as education, height, age, income, and race. Rather, the caliber of a relationship depends on qualities that cannot be easily measured or quantified in an online search. At the end of the market for partners, men and women do not necessarily marry the type of person dictated by their preferences. They marry the person who is both available and willing to marry them. The dating market is the same as any other market, consisting of sellers and buyers, and is only in equilibrium when sellers and buyers are willing to trade after the price has adjusted. There is no exchange of money in this market. Prices are determined by the opportunity cost people accept when they eventually meet the person they choose to date. Struggling to determine your value in the dating market can result in you missing out on the economic benefits.
Chapter number 4.
Your market value limits who you are with when your market closes. While you may not get what you want, a person with the same market value as you may be the one you need. People marry for a variety of reasons, but economically, marriage is only for insurance in bad times and for the efficient production of household services or goods, such as sex, love, and children. Single people often move to big cities because search costs are lower in highly populated areas, and the quality of potential matches is higher. In big cities, single people will be able to come into contact with many more people than in less populated rural areas, where people may be skeptical about talking to strangers. If you can't find a suitable partner where you are, consider moving to a bigger city where you'll meet more people. Abhijit Banerjee researched marriage and education in India and reported their findings in the American Economic Journal. According to the study, most men prefer to marry a woman who is less educated than them. The educated woman will also be older at the time she starts looking for a husband, so she faces competition from younger and less educated women. When educated women are trying to find potential partners, the market is out of equilibrium because supply is greater than demand.
Chapter number 5.
The meaning we give to marriage varies by religious and geographical divide. The meaning of marriage is not engraved in stone. It varies from place to place, country to country, and over time. Communities decide on the institution of marriage, but economic factors also influence its development. For example, heterosexual monogamous polygyny was the widely accepted definition of marriage. However, other forms of marriage are recognized today, such as polyamory, polyandry, and serial monogamy. Respect for individual rights and freedom is one of the reasons why some nations have been able to accumulate wealth and experience advances in new technologies. And that same respect for human rights has allowed advocates of monogamous same-sex marriage to win legal battles for legal recognition. When the citizens of a certain country do not agree with the type of marriage, a change in the legal framework is enough to bring about an institutional change. If you want to bring an ideology into the mainstream, try to get a large enough number of energetic young people to buy into it. Societies in developed and first-world countries have rejected polygamy as an institution of marriage because people prefer to have several educated children over several less educated children. Monogamy helps them achieve this goal, so society has adopted the view that monogamous marriage is better than polygamy.
Chapter number 6.
The happiest marriages are those in which the spouses are alike. In the past 30 years, several economic factors have equalized the formal labor market for both men and women, allowing more women to have greater bargaining power in their marriages. The income gap between husbands and wives appears to be narrowing, but the income gap between the poor and the rich is widening. Some economists argue that the narrowing economic gap between men and women could be responsible for the rising divorce rate. Some people marry to take advantage of the profits from trade. A good example of such people is men who import wives from another country in an attempt to get rid of the domestic economic forces that give women a say in their marriages. Negotiation is an essential part of decision-making between couples, from dividing resources to household chores. Technological advances have given women more freedom to spend time on their careers and earn better earnings in the labor market. Several services formerly performed by women at home can now be purchased. Higher incomes mean that women who are tired of losing negotiations in marriage can choose to leave and still be financially stable. Any man who does not want to share decision-making is at risk of divorce. Great marriages are partnerships. It cannot be a great marriage without partnership.
Chapter number 7.
People start relationships at different stages of their lives and live in ways that are different from the past. The dynamics of relationship styles have changed over the years. For example, people are more willing to cohabit rather than marry, making the market for love and sex at the end of life much stronger than before. Most people choose to marry late because they want fewer children. Getting married in your 30s means that most women will probably only have 1 or 2 children because of lifestyle choices, and fertility treatments can allow women to have children in their 30s and 40s. They no longer feel pressured to marry early. Changing social norms and effective contraception have led to increased access to premarital sex. People don't have to get married to have sex anymore. This freedom means that singles can keep multiple sexual partners until they are ready to make a long-term commitment. Another reason for dating at the late in life is that it is easier and cheaper to find mates, thanks to the widespread use of social networks and dating sites. In the past, older singles tried to spend more to find a partner because they were typically more socially isolated than younger singles.
As you listen to the summary now, it's time for conclusion. The world of sex and love is not just a sea of emotions and desires. Our decisions and their consequences make more sense when we evaluate them from an economic point of view. Choosing to stay single also means more time to focus on their careers, building wealth, and all the other things that are important to them. You know, it's never 50-50 in marriage. It's always 70-30 or 60-40. Someone falls in love first. Someone is elevating another person above them. Someone works very hard to make things run smoothly. Someone else comes along for the ride.